Hello, my name is Jay Ariano, and today I will present to you a synthesis of the study by Dr. Lindsay and Dr. Hart titled Exposure to Same-Race Teachers and Student Disciplinary Outcomes for Black Students in North Carolina. This study's main data analysis procedure is using a fixed effects method. This method is used to control for all the unobservable confounding variables that cause bias in studies. These are commonly called the unobservable Z's in data. The problem is we often don't see all the variables at first glance that may cause bias. Many different nested structures provide opportunities for bias to enter into a study, such as geography, which are different parts of the area have different situations for students, such as high poverty levels in different regions. Time, students and schools change over time and across grade levels, or policy changes occur at different time points. Schools, all schools are different in some way, even within the same district, which may serve different students and family populations. And finally, by grade level, which every student may have different content exposure and achievement benchmarks that tend to vary by grade level. The goal of fixed effects is to eliminate all the unobservable Z's at each nested level. When should we use fixed effects and for what reason? We should use fixed effects when there is a need to control for specific variables at different nested levels. These are the unobservable variables that cause bias in studies. The reason for fixed effects is to eliminate the possible outcomes that will skew your data and not allow you to get accurate answers to your research questions. In this study, the researchers were interested in how same-race teachers will affect exclusionary discipline in schools. There was a need to control for certain student, institutional, and grade level variables that influence the results, such as selectively placement of students, different variations of students and teachers on a yearly basis, to name a couple. The research question. This study explores whether exposure to same-race teachers affect the rate at which Black students receive exclusionary discipline, such as out-of-school suspension, in-school suspension, and expulsion. The reason for the need of this study is that the research suggests that Blacks and Latinos are disproportionately subject to harsh discipline actions to include exclusionary discipline at higher rates than non-minority students. Other research suggests that exposure to same-race teachers improves minority students' academic achievement. With that in mind, could this study further support minority students? This study is looking to find causation between the same-race teacher and disciplinary actions taken in support of minority students academically and social emotionally. The data being used is a North Carolina administrative data set which includes grades 1 through 12. This is to include elementary, middle school, and high school students, which are being observed in this study. North Carolina was used due to its large, diverse population and a variety of type of schools. North Carolina schools are required to report disciplinary incidents to the state. North Carolina follows national trends with racial and gender disparities in expulsion and suspensions, so results could have nationwide implications. Since 2001, state collected disciplinary records for each student, including types of offenses, but have added additional levels of reporting. Since 2007-2008 school year, results have included a wider variety of outcomes, such as in-school suspensions and detentions. The characteristics of the data include: this data set uses the 2007-2008 school year through 2012-2013 school year. There was a random assignment of over 2 million students, and we used a subset of African American students were identified to their exceptionally high exclusionary discipline rates in national statistics. The data allowed for student-teacher race identification, and covariants were utilized, which were urbanicity, enrollment, pupil-teacher ratios, and demographic composition of schools. Student school and yearly observations were studied across a 6-year period for the African American subpopulation. Measures. The dependent variable was the discipline. This was the outcome of interest. The key treatment variables, which were the race of teachers, more specifically if they were black or not. Other variables included student, which was identified by I, grade, which was identified by G, school, which was identified by S, and year, which was identified by T. To control for the unobservables, a fixed effects model is used. Time varying and time invariant student characteristics such as race, sex, family income were looked at, and time varying and time invariant school characteristics such as demographic makeup were studied. Control variables. Fixed effects method uses binary variables. Either the variable is or is not, which is identified by 1 or 0. 1 is, 0 is not. For example, black teachers, they are or they're not. Black students, they are or they're not. Exclusionary discipline, they experienced it or they did not. Standard control variables which were used were school, grade, student characteristic, school characteristic, and year, which are commonly used in a variety of studies to include this one. An interesting coded variable utilized, and the researchers made note of it, was for elementary students that are in self-contained classes, which have a primary teacher where students see the majority of the day, but those students go to a separate teacher for specials, such as music, PE, and art. The interesting notation was for this unique situation is that special teachers receive equal weight to a self-contained classroom teacher. The researchers found that even if there was a limited touch base for the special teachers, they bring value to the students in seeing a teacher of a different race. Methods. The baseline OLS regression model is pictured on the slide. As you can see, the outcome of interest is discipline, with the variables I for student, G for grade, S for school, and T for year. The student characteristic variable, as you can see, includes race, sex, and family income. The school characteristic variable, as you can see, includes a demographic makeup, and the E stands for the error term. Interesting enough, the OLS model found insignificant results showing no relationship between same-race teachers and exclusionary discipline because the OLS model creates contradictory results between elementary and middle school students and high school students, which offset the results. Unobservable bias in the high school student tier negated the elementary and middle school tier, which found to have some significance. Why is this causal effect research design? Fixed effects were used because the OLS technique was not able to account for the unobservable school factors with both exposure to black teachers and student discipline. For example, a few unobservables identified were if black teachers were more likely to serve in the hard-to-staff schools, or schools were to selectively place black students with teachers of the same race due to non-black teachers assigning exclusionary discipline techniques. These unobservables provided bias in the results. The fixed effects model was able to narrow the research design to control for these unobservables. Results. The fixed effects results concluded that students with the same race teacher experienced less exclusionary discipline. School grade and student fixed effects were utilized to help support the black student have lower discipline rates when higher share of their teachers are black. This research suggests that if a black student were to experience an all-black research staff, they would be 2 to 3 percentage points less likely to receive exclusionary discipline. But we know this is very unlikely. On the other hand, black students that encountered a half-black teaching staff would expect a 0.5 to 1 percentage point decline in the likelihood of exclusionary discipline. Were fixed effects useful in the study? The answer is yes, because the OLS model suggests that there were no relationship between teacher race composition and exposure to exclusionary discipline. As mentioned previously, contrary results with elementary school students and middle school students compared to high school students. The fixed effects accounted for the unobserved Z's and found causation between same race teacher which led to a less exclusionary discipline for Black students. Further analysis through instrumental variables increased the validity of the results that Black students exposed to a higher percentage of Black teachers produced less likelihood of receiving exclusionary discipline. Overall, fixed effects model provided positive data to verify the hypothesis, and validity was increased through the instrumentals variable model. The interpretation. The researchers found that fixed effects model did control for the undesirables by controlling for school grade and student fixed effects. Results show causation between same-race teachers and a reduction of exclusionary discipline. Interesting discussion resulted following the study to further educational policy for the future. Were pedagogical differences or better classroom management for Black teachers the reason for the decrease in exclusionary discipline? And if so, what are these methods, and how can we teach all our teachers these methods? The study found that teachers' diversity must be a priority in our educational sector. And lastly, we need to proceed with caution to not let these results lead to a more racially segregated classrooms. We can't fall backwards and just place students with minority teachers, but we need to provide better disciplinary action to all of our students, particularly the African American students, that has historically been a recipient of exclusionary discipline, which has proven to lower academic achievement and has implications to the school-to-prison pipeline. Do the fixed effects address causality? I do believe this study did a good job in using the fixed effects model to address causation with this longitudinal study. The fixed effects study was able to control for the undesirable and use further analysis to increase validity for fixed effects results. This was a very interesting study that I believe will have a positive influence on the educational sector. Thank you.